This is how to find the missing values in parallel and perpendicular slopes. So this is 1.3c, and our essential question is, how do I use parallel and perpendicular slopes, so parallel and perpendicular slopes, to solve for missing values? We can use parallel and perpendicular slopes to solve for missing values and coordinates. So I'm going to give you part of the coordinates, but you're not going to have the whole thing, and that's what we're going to do. So the first step to do this is to calculate the slope of the first line from the given coordinates. See, this one has both. Here's m and n. This one has both. So the second step is to decide what we're looking for. We're looking for parallel or perpendicular. So if it's parallel, it's the same slope. And if it's perpendicular, we need to change the sign and flip the fraction. Just for thoroughness, slope is delta y over delta x. Then we substitute the coordinates of the second line into the slope formula. Set the equation of the second line equal to the parallel or perpendicular slope and solve for the missing variable. To solve, we're going to cross multiply and solve. So what do those steps mean? Let's go back and look at our example. So I have two lines. I have line MN and line OP. Notice that I want them to be parallel. That means I need my slopes to be the same. So when I find slope of MN, label our points x1, y1, x2, y2. That's negative 1 minus 0 over 5 minus 7. That's negative 1 over negative 2. That's 1 over 2. So parallel slope is 1 over 2. So far, we found the slope from the first one, and we determined that we need that slope. So then, we're going to substitute the coordinates of the second line into the slope formula. So that's x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay? So the slope of OP is 3 minus 6 over x minus 3. 3 minus 6 and x minus 3. Okay? So when we simplify that, I get negative 3 over x minus 3. Just because it's not pretty doesn't mean that I haven't found the slope. So now we set the slope of the second line, that's this one, equal to the parallel slope from up here. So our parallel slope was 1/2. That has to equal negative 3 over x minus 3. So I took this and set them equal to each other. Then we just cross multiply. So I'm going to multiply these. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. I'm going to multiply these numbers, and I'm going to multiply those numbers. So that's 1 times x minus 3 equals 2 times negative 3. X minus 3 equals negative 6. Add 3, x is negative 3. None of the steps are specifically hard. It's just knowing what to do with the numbers. That's the new trick. Don't worry, we're going to do it a couple more times. All right, so first we find the slope of the first line. So that's OP. Notice this time I want it to be perpendicular. So first I'm going to find the slope of OP. x1, y1, x2, y2. That's 4. Sorry. That's negative 4 minus a negative 9 over negative 4 minus a negative 2. That's 5 over negative 2. So then, perpendicular slope, change the sign and flip the fraction. So when we compare these two fractions, they're opposite reciprocal slopes. So now we're going to set up the other line, QR. So we're going to find the slope of QR. So that's x1, y1, x2, y2. So that's y minus 1 over 2 minus a negative 2. That's y minus 1 over 4. Now, we take these two things and make an equation. So I have 2 over 5 equals y minus 1 over 4. Multiply those and multiply those. So I get 2 times 4 equals 5 times y minus 1. 8 equals 5y minus 1. Oh, minus 5. So we add 5 to both sides. 13 is 5y, and then we divide so that 13 over 5 is y. That's my other coordinate. It doesn't have to be a pretty number. We just have to know how to plug it in the formula. So we find the slope for 1, then we find parallel or perpendicular. We set up an expression to find the second slope, and then we set the slope it's equal to each other, the slope we want and the slope we're missing, and then we solve for the missing coordinate. All right, let's do it again. This time we want parallel. So we start with h, x1, y1, x2, y2. So if I'm going to find the slope of hi, that's 0 minus a negative 4 over 8 minus 4. That's 4 over 4, that's 1. So parallel slope is 1. Just because we're going to have a fraction in a minute, we're going to leave it 1 over 1. Okay, now we're going to find the slope of the second line. So now I need the slope of jk. So x1, y1, x2, y2, 3, 9. That's 3 minus 9 over x minus 4. Negative 6 over x minus 4. So now we need to set the two slopes equal. So even though they're weird looking, that's a slope and that's a slope. So we're just going to set those two things equal. So I have 1 over 1 equals negative 6 over x minus 4. You can see now why I wanted to have this 1 over 1, so we could see how to multiply. So we're going to multiply those, and I'm going to cross multiply those, so that I get negative 6 equals x minus 4. This is the negative 6. This is the x minus 4. So we add 4 to both sides, and I get negative 2 equals x. We're looking for perpendicular slope. So I need to find the slope of ST, and then I need to find the slope of UV. I need to find perpendicular slope, and then I'm going to set the two slopes equal to each other and solve. So ST, x1, y1, x2, y2, that's 3 minus 0 over negative 3 minus negative 1. That's negative 4. That's 3 over 1. So perpendicular, opposite reciprocal, change the sign, flip the fraction. So now I need to find the slope of UV, x1, y1, x2, y2. That's negative 7 minus a negative 8 over x minus 9. That's 1 over x minus 9. So this is my perpendicular slope, and this is my slope of AV. That's what I'm putting right here. So my perpendicular slope was negative 1 over 3, and this is 1 over x minus 9. We cross multiply, so that's 3, and we cross multiply, so that's negative 1 times x minus 9, so that when I distribute, 3 equals negative x plus 9. So we're going to subtract 9 from both sides. Negative 6 equals negative x. And then we divide by negative 1 to cancel that. And x is 6. Think about the steps that we did. First step was to find the slope of the first line that had all the points. Second step was to find the perpendicular or parallel slope. Third step was to set up an expression for the line that doesn't have all the coordinates. And then the fourth step is to compare those two and solve. So, solve, looking for parallel. We need the slope for UV. I need parallel slope. I need the slope for WX. And then I need to compare a parallel needs to set equal to a WX. Okay? So the first one, x1, y1, x2, y2. That's 5 minus 1 over 8 minus a negative 8. That's 4 over 16. Which is 1 over 4. So parallel slope is the same. So I'm looking for 1 over 4. Now I need to find an expression for the other line. x1, y1, x2, y2. So that is y minus 0 over 4 minus a negative 4. That's y over 8. So that's 1 over 4 equals y over 8. So we multiply those. 4y equals 8. Then we divide. Y is 2. I find it easiest to label the things I need to do. I need to find the slope of EF. That's the first thing I need to do. The second thing is I need to find a perpendicular. Then the third thing is to find an expression for GH. And the fourth thing is to compare the perpendicular slope to the expression that I get that's missing a value. x1, y1, x2, y2. Let's do the first one. So that's 2 minus 8 over 6 minus a negative 6. That's negative 6 over 12. That's negative 1/2. So I need the opposite reciprocal. That means that I change the sign and flip the fraction. I'm going to leave it as a fraction because our expression is going to be as a fraction, so it just makes it easier. So then we move on to the next one. x1, y1, x2, y2. Find our slope. Y minus 2 over negative 9 minus negative 3. That's y minus 2 over negative 6. Now, I need to compare this and this right here. So my perpendicular slope is 2 over 1. The expression that I got for my other one was y minus 2 over negative 6. So we're going to multiply this and get negative 12. And then we multiply this one and get 1 times y minus 2. So that we simplify, that's negative 12 equals y minus 2 when I distribute. And then we add 2. Negative 10 is y. So when you write your summary, I want you to think about the steps. In a couple of the problems, at least in numbers 3 and number 5, I kind of listed out what they were as an example. And when you go back to the instructions, they're right here. But I want you to make sure that it makes sense to you, so it has to be in your words so that you can synthesize or absorb the information.